folks, welcome to the channel Rockin' the Country. I'm Don. Many of you know who followed the channel for a while that I'm a life coach, and every so often I like to do something that's off the beaten track. And I just got this idea the other day that I'd written a book last year called Throughlines, and in the book I talk about the 9 personalities that I see that comprise the human race. And each of us is born with a given personality, and it stays with us our entire lives. And the moments in life when we are the least happy, generally speaking, is when we are working discordantly with that personality type. So I just decided I'm going to do a video, because I also do live streams now in which I talk about and answer people's questions, or if they're having problems with life, just sort of how to address them. So I figured I would just run the 9 personality types by you. And if you want to take the personality test that I created that's based on the book that I wrote, that just put your phone up to the QR code and it'll take you to it. And the test is free. It's 77 questions, but you'll get a personality type if you complete the whole test. You'll get an accurate one if you complete the whole test. But I just wanted to sort of like whet your appetite, or just give you a little bit of more insight into the different personalities that I see comprise the human race. These personality types, that's why I call them through lines. This is your through line. This is your personality. One of these 9, you start with it and it goes with you throughout your entire life. It is your through line. And the first one is a luminary. And this is straight out of the book. I'm just going to read this brief blurb of what a luminary is. And luminaries look for the humanity in others, are keenly aware of the difficulties we all face in life, and have an accurate assessment of their value among others. They are pleasant, approachable, and engaging. I gave a one-word association of their contribution to humanity, and that word is enlightenment. So those are luminaries. They're very special, and they have a heightened awareness of not only themselves, but themselves in relation to others. They care about others as much as they care about themselves. They don't undervalue themselves. They don't overvalue themselves. They just have a very good balance within society, whichever society that may be. It could be within the context of a family or school or anywhere. Next is a compassionist. I made that word up. I needed to for this type of person. Compassionists look for the good in others and are generous with no expectation of getting something in return. They are assertive and approachable. So as the name suggests, they are extraordinarily compassionate. They are thoughtful. They think of others, and they can actually be out of balance, where unlike the luminary, who has a very good balance of thinking of themselves and others, and that compassionists can be too kind almost to a fault, where they can be out of balance, where they don't think of themselves enough. They have difficulty saying no, this type of thing. But they are generally very likable, very energetic, and they are very actively involved with others. And the one-word association of their contribution to humanity is support. They're very supportive of others. The third personality type I call peacemakers. And peacemakers look for the common ground between themselves and others, or between others and others, and are highly intelligent. They're pleasant, welcoming, and occasionally assertive. But they like to see people get along. They like to get along with other people, and they can sort of see the invisible fabric that keeps people apart, and they'll interpose themselves sometimes. Generally, people welcome them because they just have this very affable, easy way about them that makes others feel welcome in their presence. And the one-word association of their contribution to humanity is connections. They make connections between others or between themselves and others, and people just genuinely enjoy being in the presence of a peacemaker because they're very easy to be with. Next are freelancers. And freelancers are not looking for anything in particular, are highly intelligent, inoffensive, and non-dogmatic. They're passive. So freelancers are very comfortable with questions. They're not always looking for answers. They can be difficult to get to know. They tend to be friendly, but I almost named this through line or this personality type window shopper because they don't settle on hardcore dogma or hardcore politics or hardcore religion. They generally have a lot of questions about things, and you can be very, very bright in your own field and be sharing your ideas with them, whether it's in philosophy, sociology, psychology, economics, anything. And they tend to be very good at seeing the flaws or the gaps or the incompleteness of whatever that perspective is. And they don't do it to be a pain in the ass or just to be contentious. They really do see where so many elements of what we consider to be the right way to live in life or the preferred way to live or the way things are. They see the gaps in those ways of thinking. So their one-word association of their contribution to humanity is questions. They have questions, and they're comfortable living in questions, whereas many people want answers. They're comfortable living in questions. The fifth type, the fifth personality type or through line is teachers. And this isn't school teachers. These are people who look for the missing information in others to share their knowledge and have an insatiable appetite for learning. They are assertive, friendly, and socially alert. You might even consider them, some of them might to be like nerdy, where you're in the grocery store and you're looking for something, or you might be having a conversation with the person you're with in the store and they can overhear a question you have about something. And they are always on alert to be able to teach you something or share some information with you, but they're not looking to establish a long-term relationship with you of any kind. Generally, they want to get in, share their knowledge with whatever they know or want to share with you, and they can be quite informative, and then just go about their way. So their one-word association of their contribution to humanity is information. They can look at other people as storehouses in which they can pour their information. And so it can feel sterile at times, but not always. Some teachers are very personable, very well connected, but they really do look to share what they've learned along life's path with other people, whether they know them or not. Okay, and the sixth type are called honestians. And these are folks who are very open and honest. So I created this word, honestian, to capture their through line, their essence. And honestians look for the openness and truthfulness in others and process life with as much unvarnished truth as possible. They are unassuming and passive aggressive. Honestians want truth, even if the truth is a negative thing about themselves. It isn't like they enjoy that, but if they have a character flaw or they screwed up in an argument or a certain social situation, for example, and somebody points it out to them, they'll receive it versus defending themselves. They're not especially defensive. If you're wrong about something that you think they've done, they'll defend themselves. But if it's true, they're all about it. They're very honest in that regard. And their one-word association of their contribution to humanity is directness. They're very direct. They're not rude necessarily, but sometimes they could come across that way. But they judge the world based on what they believe is true, what is honest, and they're open. They're very open about it. Okay, and this is the seventh personality that I consider to be in the plus category. They're positive, and the final two are negative, but boss or bosses. And these aren't bosses at work, because there are some very nice, kind bosses at work, thoughtful, and so on, that are different personality types. These are people who are very bossy, very much, they derive value from you receiving what it is their advice may be, or if they tell you you should do something a given way, or if they think they have the solution to your problem, they derive value from you receiving it and not arguing with them about it. It can get very unpleasant with bosses if you have a different perspective than they do when they're sharing what their ideas are with you about the way you should be doing things, whether they know you well or not. But bosses look for the deficiencies in others and insinuate themselves into their lives with the intention of helping and lack awareness of boundaries being crossed. They are helpful, well-intentioned, and hyper-aggressive. So they can be they're this unusual personality type, if you will, because they frustrate people to no end because they'll overstep boundaries. They want to address something when they want to address it, but they mean well, and they can actually be a lot of fun depending on context. But they don't want you to challenge them on things. It's just not how they are. And these folks are born this way, and they stay this way their entire lives. We all know people like this. Other personality types can be bossy at times, for example, but it doesn't mean that they are born as a boss. And the one-word association of their contribution to humanity is direction. They want to direct how you and others do things. They are very, very confident in what they think and believe. And if they cross boundaries with others, it doesn't faze them. They don't see it. They're not socially aware in that regard. But they provide a lot of good information for others. So they're on the positive side of the personality ledger, if you will. These final two personality types, these final two through lines, are on the negative side of the ledger. Takers, okay? Takers look for the gullibility and generosity in others to exploit it and have a high opinion of themselves. They are aloof and sneaky. Takers, as opposed to people who are generous, takers are of two types: those without means, financial means, and those with financial means. Either way, these are folks who do not look to give. They don't look to fulfill a need others may have. They only look to increase whatever it is that they have. So they may have a lot of money in the bank, but they want a lot more. Not for the purpose of giving it to others, not for the purpose of helping anybody, but because they just want to extract as much from society as they can and have it for themselves. So their one-word the one-word association of their contribution to humanity is subtraction. They can even be kind of friendly and sort of nice in just a conversation, but they are always on guard and they cannot help themselves. They are always on the lookout for something that might be unattached that they could somehow acquire for themselves as inexpensively as possible, even if it means taking it. And then the final type, and we've all heard of this personality type, but I use it in a slightly different way in the book, and I depict it, are narcissists. Now, narcissists give the same way venture capitalists use seed money to get something bigger in return. They are assertive, aggressive, destructive in that order. Narcissists, in this regard, the way I use it in the book, they see the pain that they cause others. They see the frustration they cause others. It just doesn't move them. They don't care. They don't identify with it. Other people's pain or struggle doesn't resonate deeply with a narcissist. Same thing with takers. Takers can see other people are struggling, but they would never divest themselves of, say, money or some way in which they could assist another person's life, even if they need it, even if they have the abundance to give to that person. They won't do it because they don't feel it for others. Narcissists see it and notice it, and sometimes they might even derive pleasure from being the source of another person's discomfort or anguish or suffering in some way. But it isn't that they don't see it. They do. They're just unmoved by it. So narcissists will not modify their behavior, and either will take takers. So they're closely allied in that regard, but narcissists actually, to me, are worse than takers because they actively hurt other people. Takers hurt other people along life's path too, but it's more in a crime of omission versus narcissists where they don't mind hurting people and moving on. And so that's like more a crime of commission. They're committing these emotional crimes, if you will. And the one word association of their contribution to humanity is wreckage. So that was just a little bit of the background and the lens partially through which I might even be viewing songs, and not entirely. I mean, there's so much to human personality and psyche and the how it socializes and works its way out. And of course, with my philosophy background and life coaching, I have a lot of experience just assessing how the sort of the tentacles, the fabric, the invisible fabric among people impacts others positively, negatively, how sometimes even well-intentions wind up placing a person out of balance and then they're harming themselves. So, all right, guys, have a great day. I'll see you on another video, certainly a music video, and keep rocking the country.